Sally Ann, how can an organization ensure that an internal audit function or department follows its own code of ethics?
Fundamentally, an internal audit function needs to ensure that it's following both the code of ethics and the standards. And it does that through having a quality assurance and improvement program in place. And that program needs to have internal assessments and external assessments. So the internal assessments that the internal audit function would do would be making sure that the principles under the Code of Ethics are being adhered to. But then at least every 5 years it should be getting someone in to do an external assessment as well, to get that independent view on it actually conforming with the Code of Ethics.
How often should an organization's code of ethics be audited?
I think there's no really definitive answer for this question. It certainly depends on what risk that Code of Ethics presents to the broader organisation. But typically you would probably expect that someone look at the Code of Ethics each year. It may not need to be updated each year, it may not even need to be updated every few years, but you would want someone looking at it to make sure that if there has been changes to the organisation or its operating environment, that they've been reflected in the Code of Ethics and the Code of Ethics is still relevant for the organisation.
Nowadays, with the environment or the world changing so rapidly, there might be a requirement that that be done on a more frequent basis.
Absolutely, and I think with things like outsourcing and collaboration with other service providers, collaboration with partners, things are very different now for a lot of organisations. So what may have been an ethical issue to them in the past, or may not have been an ethical issue, may suddenly become one.
What's your view where the Chief Audit Executive reports to the Chief Operating Officer of a company?
Look, it's a really good question because fundamental to good internal auditing is the whole notion of independence. And internal audit has to be independent to be able to operate effectively. And if a Chief Audit Executive is reporting to a COO, often they're the areas that the internal audit team's spending a lot of time doing audit work in. So ideally that wouldn't occur, and ideally an internal auditor, a Chief Audit Executive, would be reporting to the board and the CEO. In a case where they can't avoid but reporting to a Chief Operating Officer, it's really important that that independence line is never breached. So the CAE really needs to look at ways to avoid impacting that independence.